This is Unpopular Opinions.
Where I'm Chris.
And I am Ronnie, and Snickers bars are an overrated candy bar.
I like Milky Ways, so.
I don't even like Milky Ways.
Okay, all right, podcast is over, people. You can go now. I have a discussion to make with my cohort.
Look, I like Kit Kats, and I like Crunch bars. I don't like too much growing on in my candy bar, and it gets stuck in my teeth, and it's gross, and I don't like it.
You want a real unpopular opinion? When I open the king-size Kit Kat, I don't break them up. I just chomp right into it.
You're a monster.
I'm the most monstrous.
I can understand taking one of the little ones and shoving the whole thing in your mouth, but you do not perforate it, or it's not meant to be perforated.
This is a candy podcast now.
Apparently.
Please sponsor us, Hershey.
Okay, so what are we talking about?
We are talking about Spyro.
Okay.
Because the new remaster is coming out soon, and I am hype.
I am sort of hype.
I am very hype.
We'll get to that later. So over the last several hiatus, we have been playing through the original trilogy of Spyro games. Spyro, Ripto's Rage, or Gateway to Glimmer if you're listening to this somewhere else.
In Europe.
And then the best one, in my opinion, Year of the Dragon. So we're going to talk about different things in regards to that, and then leading up to talking about Reignited Trilogy. So first on the docket, which one was our favorite and why? You can go first.
It's very close, because Spyro 2 was my first video game, ever. Mm-hmm. So I have a very, rosy red nostalgic glasses towards it. However, when we were playing through it, I did like Spyro 3 more, because there was a little bit less bullshit going on. But I think that's because Insomniac got a little more experience with what they were trying to do with Spyro with the third game, because the first game, there's no mini games or anything. You're doing the same thing in every level, essentially. Mm-hmm. And, get the dragons, collect all the treasure, catch the thieves if there are any. And then they introduced the mini games in Spyro 2, which worked, but it was pretty clunky. But I think by Spyro 3, they were able to polish that out. And
I would agree with that.
Make it really fun, but...
So for me, I sort of grew up with Spyro. My first video game I ever played was Pac-Man, because my mom would take us roller skating all the time, and she would always give me her quarters so I could play Miss Pac-Man. Once I started sort of getting into video games around the time that the Nintendo 64 was a thing that a lot of people had, I didn't have access to things, so I ended up getting video games as hand-me-downs, and one of the things was when my cousins got an Xbox, they gave me their old PS1, and they had Spyro 3. So after I figured out what the game was supposed to be about and what the heck I was even doing in it, because it was the third installment and I had no other reference.
You don't really need it though when you play through all
Not really.
of them.
I was slightly confused because I was supposed to know who the characters were already, and then you just kind of get over it and all right, this is how it is.
Yeah.
So I played Spyro 3 a lot when I was a kid. I played through the beginning part of it a lot because I would get stuck on things and not really know how to progress, and I would start over. So I played that game a lot, so I have a lot of nostalgia factor attached to it. But also, I feel like just quality-wise, it's kind of the best thing, which for games back then, I feel like kind of happened, because by the third game in a trilogy, they had a better idea of what was going on and what they wanted to do with it. There are still some issues with it. I think things are not done the way that they should be, in that minigames sometimes don't work.
Tanks.
World of Tanks and weird hoverboard thing, and you have to shoot Rhinox from across the stage. And also Sea of Lean in several different places that you have to.
The weird hoverboard thing.
Oh, in the freaking Pharaoh thing, remember?
Yeah, Well, there's World of Tanks in that one, and then what was the hoverboard thing?
That's what I'm talking about. It's a hoverboard
right,
like tank thing.
Okay, I thought
because it's not like a rolly tank.
Yeah,
there are
okay.
those, but that's not.
I thought
what
you were
that one was.
talking. I thought you were talking about a different minigame. I got confused.
No, sorry.
Bentley boxing. Apparently, people don't like Bentley boxing. I really
Because
do.
it's busted.
I love it. I put on the Rocky soundtrack and I go to town.
That's one of the things is most of my gripes with Spyro are the mini games. They lie within the mini games because things don't work the way that they should sometimes, and they'll just glitch, which I guess is a thing for games that happened on the PS1, but it can be frustrating. And Bentley boxing is one of the things. It's not exactly glitchy, it's just unnecessarily difficult. Because that other Yeti is OP, and he needs to be nerfed. I really hope they nerf him for the next one.
I read something online a couple days after we did that, and I guess there's a 2-player option for Bentley boxing, and you can just plug another controller into the PS1, and the Yeti would just stand there, and you could just wail on his face and cheese the minigame.
Did you test that? Because I feel like that's not a thing. Because there's not a 2-player option.
You know what? I cheesed the end game minigame, and that worked.
You did cheese that, but I feel like it's a little bit different. Because that was just bullshit snowboarding thing.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun, though. For reference, we're talking about in the Super Bonus world, where you race the Yetis, and it's stupidly hard if you do it the way you're supposed to.
It is very hard.
You have to hit every boost star, every rocket to shoot the enemy with, and you need to be constantly doing tricks, and that's the worst part. Because if you didn't have to do tricks to get boosts, you'd be fine, but you have to stop boosting to do tricks.
That is true.
Because hands don't work that way. We're touching all those buttons at once. So what I did... I was looking up like tips and tricks for it online because I've only completed Spyro 3 once and I was a kid. And apparently, well, not apparently, this is true because I did it. You can go to one of the stars if you say no to racing when Hunter asks you. You just go and stand in this star and it'll give you the boost thing, but no boost will happen because you're not on a skateboard or snowboard or anything. And the star will keep coming back and it'll keep giving you the boost. Well, I stood there for about 200 boosts, and it just gives you enough boost to get through the track without having to do anything else. And it's busted as hell, but it was a lot of fun.
You know they're probably going to take that away for Reignited, right?
I'm sure they will.
And it's probably going to be just as bullshit.
Yeah, but you know what? I'm also sure they'll fix Bentley boxing.
I hope so.
I'm sure they'll fix the World of Tanks, too.
So, beyond endgame glitchiness for Spyro 3, which is still my favorite, in comparing the three together, Spyro 1 isn't bad, it's just the most boring of the three because it's the first one and they didn't know exactly what they were going to do. There's not really a plot, per se, other than dragons turn into crystal, please help.
Yeah, so. But if you think about it, though, none of the 3D platformers really had a plot. Like, I think Donkey
Kong... During
Kong,
that era, yeah. Crash doesn't really have a plot.
Yeah, and Super Mario 64 didn't really have much of a plot.
Yeah, that was before the era of, like, Mario 64. Yeah. Did you just say that? Like, Super Mario Brothers didn't have a plot, but 64 sort of did.
64 was just you collect the stars and free the princess. I mean, if anything, that's just as much of a plot as Spyro.
To be fair, every Mario game is the same plot.
Yeah. But that's what the game's supposed. That's the point of that game, though. That was before story-driven games were a thing.
Yeah. And then you get things like Mario Sunshine and Luigi's Mansion and things that have like more of a plot. There's like at least a sort of plot where there's more something that you're supposed to be working towards other than beat levels until you go fight Bowser.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know why exactly, but I didn't really enjoy Spyro 2 very much, and I don't know if it was just because there's a lot of kind of gimmicky like mini game things in there, and it felt like there were a lot more than exist in Spyro 3. So I also didn't grow up with that one, so I don't know if maybe that's a part of it.
I think
But
the controls weren't there yet for mini games
yeah.
for Spyro. I think that was the big problem. Because the controls are a lot more fluid for that stuff in Spyro 3.
And there are certain mini games in Spyro 2 where it wasn't really clear what I was supposed to be doing, even if you went back. Like for that thing where you heard the cow sheep things. That one was very, very frustrating. And like I thought it was really cute. Like it was a really neat idea of like a robot thing or a rock or whatever it was herding sheep. But it's just like there was an area where you had to get them back into this pen that was like up a ledge, and it was like, how am I supposed to do that?
Yeah, you're supposed to use like the super flame. But like there's another one, and then there's another one in that same level. It's in Zephyr is a level.
Yeah.
And it's with the Romeo and Juliet one where you're using the seeds to get which that intro is hilarious. Because he's like, what light dawn yonder window breaks? That one right up there, dummy. and
then Juliet is a bird, and he's a weirdo.
Romeo. But yeah, no, I can't help but agree with you there, because I love the game, but yeah, there's a lot of flaws that they did fix in Spyro 3. But I think they'll fix the control flaws and all that in the Reignited trilogy.
I hope so. In Spyro 2, wasn't there that one thing where Hunter is dressed as an archer for some stupid reason, and he gets his feet trapped in a rock?
The Alchemist.
Yeah, you hated that thing, and I was just like, man, I thought you loved this game.
I wanted to take that alchemist and just drop him in the lava in that world, because it's just like,
because don't you have to like get rid of the golem guys so that he doesn't get smooshed?
Yeah, you have to charge them away from him, and then he's just like, that was the original escort mission where everybody hated it. And
yeah,
it's
basically. There's a bunch of things like that.
What makes
in Spyro?
What makes it so infuriating is Hunter is 10 feet to the left of the room that he's in, but he takes his convoluted fucking path to get through it.
Yeah.
And
they're trying to make it difficult for you. It doesn't make sense. Yeah. But they're trying to make it like a challenge.
Like if they wanted to do it that way, they could have done it like the Fireflies in Spooky Swamp and Spyro 3, where they have the bombs. Because it's not like the eggs are 10 feet away from them. So it's not rage-inducing.
Yeah, I guess. That one was kind of frustrating, though, because you have to... That one... I love Spooky Swamp. It's my favorite level out of all of them, just because I like the fireflies that speak in haiku. But
Money
that one,
retirement home.
Yes. But that one you're forced to do this sort of trial and error thing unless you have it memorized from when you were a kid. Where you have to just kind of watch where they go, and then see what obstacles are going to be in their way, and if you can't get to it in time, you have to start all over.
It's like the Battletoads of the Spyro series.
And that's like a repeating theme in Spyro, is like either protect the target type things, which protect a character, or something like that. Like, because there's one in the ski level or whatever you want to call it. Like it's like one of the first levels.
Oh, are you
with the
figure skater?
The figure skater, yeah. The little bears that sound like they're from Canada.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to. Her name is Nancy. I remember that. You have to protect her so that the Rhinoc hockey players don't beat the shit out of her. And then I know there are more like that in there, but it's just. Those are always kind of frustrating.
This plot twist, she's actually intruding on the hockey game, and they're just trying to get her off the rink, because many people paid.
Give me a Spyro game from the Rhinox perspective.
Oh my god. I want one. Make it happen, Toys for Bob. Make it happen. Have you seen what the Sorceress looks like in Reignited?
No, I've kind of been avoiding. I haven't looked anything up per se, except I wanted to see what Moneybags looked like, and there was no image.
They gave her lips.
They gave her lips?
They gave her lips.
I have a picture in my brain, and I don't like it.
I'll show you after we're done.
So I think at this point we can kind of talk about, unless there's something else we want to talk about, we can talk about Reignited.
I mean, I don't think there's anything left. So yeah, probably.
Each game has its own thing to like about it, and while I like Spyro 3 the most, I liked all of them to a point. So for Reignited, which we are going to play soon, and then once we play through all of those, we will do a part 2 of this podcast series. What are we looking forward to, and what are we worried about? In either order.
Want me to start?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm looking forward to the graphical update, and by that I don't just mean looks. I mean, this didn't really happen when we were playing your copy of Spyro 3, but my copy of Spyro 3.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Well, it's not just the music. For context, Ronnie has the original copy of Spyro 3. I have the PS1 Greatest Hits copy, and it actually should say on there, I think.
It doesn't say Greatest Hits.
Oh.
But I have the original version of it, and I can tell that this isn't the original version of it, because your case is holographic, and they didn't do that for the original run of the game.
Yeah, I've got like the first reissue. And anyways, the music when they put out the game wasn't done yet. Mm-hmm. So the music repeats a lot. And while I was playing, I kept telling Ronnie, I'm like, something's not right here. I think you have a glitched copy, because this music isn't supposed to be playing in this homeworld or this boss fight.
And I kept insisting that I did not have a glitched copy, because when I streamed it with our friend Clark, it played the same music that was playing currently in quote-unquote the wrong area on his copy as well. So I didn't know what he was talking about. And then, like, we both thought the other person was crazy. And then he looked into it, and apparently...
And they didn't finish the music.
There are certain areas where, like, at a certain point, once you get to the end of the game, if it's underwater at all, it just plays the Seashell Shores music in certain areas. And then for the final homeworld, it just plays... Or no, not the final homeworld. For Evening Lake.
Yeah, it plays
for
the
Evening
first
Lake.
homeworld.
It plays the Sunrise Springs music, and the whole time you'd been talking about how the Evening Lake music creeped you out, and I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about because it was just the Sunrise Springs music. So I don't actually know what Evening Lake sounds like. I don't know what some of the other stage music sounds like either.
You'll find out. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the graphical update, because that'll be fixed. And your copy of Spyro 3 didn't do this, but my copy, when I was in Midnight Mountain Worlds, I would clip through the floor a lot, and I would die. And it would just randomly happen, like Spyro would just clip through the floor and fall into that endless sky.
Yeah, that never happened when we played it.
It was infuriating when I was playing it as a kid. And I know that will be fixed, but... I would like to see the mini games fixed. I'm excited because they kind of re-recorded and redid the music. It's the same score. It's the same like melodies and everything. It's just like higher quality. So I'm looking forward to.
That's actually something that I'm worried about, because the music for Spyro is a big like nostalgia factor for me, and I feel like if you redo it, it's gonna take away from it, because there's nothing wrong with the music.
Well, the thing is,
because if they're just like remastering it, that's fine. But if they re-recording everything, I don't really feel like that's necessary.
Well, you're gonna like this then. They're actually giving it. I think they're actually giving an option where you can switch between the reignited version and the original version of all the music.
Can you do that with View then too? Because I wonder, because if they have more options for that, because I do like that, and I know that when they did the Master Chief Collection for Halo, there is a view option where you can play the game in the updated graphics or the old graphics.
I remember that. I don't know if that's gonna happen.
Rapidly swap between them if you want to give yourself an aneurysm.
It was fun. I used to do that a lot.
So there's that. I am looking forward to the update overall. I think certain things look really good. Spyro, the model for Spyro looks really good. He's still looks like himself. He's just a lot more fluid.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't look like Skylanders Spyro, which is great because Skylanders Spyro and Skylanders in general is fucking disgusting.
But you know, it's the same people that made Skylanders.
That's what's confusing. I think this time they just have more respect for it.
They were just. I think when they initially made Skylanders, they looked at Spyro and they're like, "What if I took Spyro and I took this shovel and I hit him in the face with the shovel?" Because I'm pretty sure that's what Skylanders Spyro is. But
I think for a lot of it, it looks pretty good. I'm iffy on some of the character models though. I don't know. I think I don't know if it was you or Sam that told me this, but I think it got delayed because they put out an image of what the dragons looked like in the first game, like the adult dragons, and everybody hated it.
Yeah,
so they
said
delayed
that.
it so that they could redo it.
That was part of the reason. It was also so they can put all the games on discs because people didn't like the idea of it. That would have screwed us over, that's for sure.
Oh yeah. So for those of you that may not know, originally with the original release date back in September, they were going to put out they're going to put out the game, but you only get it on the one disc. And the one disc that you get with the $60 game that you buy just has the first game on it. And then you have to download digitally the other two games, which was kind of bullshit. And a lot of people weren't happy with it. So they pulled back so that they could either all get it on one disc or have it on 3 separate discs, whatever they figured out how to do with it. And I guess the Crash Insane trilogy was like that. So I guess people didn't really care about it as much or something. I don't know.
I never played Crash. So
or it was all on one disc.
I think it was all on one disc. You know what though? Kudos to Toys for Bob for actually listening to the fans when they say we don't want you to do that.
Yes, take notes, Activision.
Or EA.
I gave them an EA a long time ago.
Yeah. They're kind of the butthole of the gaming universe.
So yeah, I am excited overall. Basically to just play this game, and then that's just gonna be a whole lot of Spyro we played in a row. Because I just streamed Spyro 3 with a friend, and then we played all 3 of them together. And then when we get our copy of the Reignited trilogy, we're just gonna play through all of them again.
God.
But on the stream, which we should probably announce now.
Yeah, we're gonna be streaming twice a month.
We're gonna try. Either we're gonna be streaming or doing the podcast. Hopefully, either once a week there will be an upload from podcast or a stream, or if nothing else, we'll do it bi-weekly.
Yeah, well, that's what I was saying. Like 1 week we're gonna do a podcast, the next week we stream, then next week podcast, next week stream.
Yes.
So
we will probably miss weeks because we are both people that work full-time jobs, but we're gonna try to keep up with it as much as possible.
Yep.
So keep an eye out for that either on the Facebook page or on the YouTube channel. Is there anything else that we want to say before we cap this off here?
I don't think there's much else to say. We've kind of discussed everything we need to discuss.
Okay. So keep an eye out for the next podcast, guys.
Yeah. This is Unpopular Opinions.
Signing off.
Yeah.
All right, we're done.